reside in Swaziland.
Talia Rosenberg of Squirrel Hill enjoys looking at photographs and sharing stories of her 2008 summer vacation.
These are some of the women and their children that we met there.
In June, she traveled to Africa, to the tiny nation of Swaziland. It turned out to be the trip of a lifetime.
There were a lot of cows. You see them everywhere.
Talia enjoyed watching the beautiful countryside, but sightseeing wasn't the only reason for this trip.
These were some of the t-shirts. They're actually promoting the involvement of the Swazi men. So it says, "Men as fathers prevent HIV transmission."
Talia went to Africa to take part in a 35-mile walk aimed at raising awareness of HIV and AIDS. It's a disease which is wiping out entire families and leaving thousands of children orphaned. It's also a disease that does not discriminate.
And while I was in high school, I actually came in contact with someone who ended up contracting HIV and then dying from the disease. As a result, I became involved sort of with the Pittsburgh AIDS Task Force and started organizing different events at Taylor Alderdice, including like an HIV Awareness Week.
But Talia's AIDS advocacy work did not stop there. After graduating from Alderdice, she attended Harvard, where she worked for the Harvard AIDS Coalition. Later, she did HIV research in New York.
So I've sort of been doing a lot of HIV and AIDS work for the last few years.
Now in medical school at Yale, she fondly looks back on her trip to Africa.
Hi, I'm Talia Rosenberg, and I am here in Swaziland on this brisk but very beautiful morning. We're about to start our first day of the AIDS Walk Africa 2008.
Talia got to participate in the walk after writing a winning essay in a contest sponsored by the Elizabeth Glaser Pediatric AIDS Foundation.
It was started by a woman, Elizabeth Glaser, who actually found out that she had contracted the virus and actually had passed it on to her children and sort of wanted to work to help both fight the disease, but more importantly to fight the disease in terms of children. And they've done tremendous, tremendous work.
And some of the work is being done right here in Swaziland, a country nestled between South Africa and Mozambique.
One of the reasons that this country was chosen is certainly because of the high prevalence rate. Somewhere between 25 and 39% of the population has HIV. The numbers are pretty astounding. You're talking about a disease that is really more than an epidemic, it's really a pandemic. So I think there's certainly something to be said about visiting a country with those statistics. But I think more than that, the country is just filled with these really wonderful people who are trying so hard to fight the disease.
Talia got to meet some of those people during her week-long walk. Nearly 24 volunteers and foundation staff workers also took part.
There are some of the walkers.
So how long was the walk? It went from where to where?
So we were located in the Manzini region, which is basically central Swaziland. We walked anywhere between about, I'd say like 8 and maybe 14 miles each day. And beautiful walks, very sort of diverse geography that we were able to see. But mostly the point was to walk, both to see the country, but also to see many of the clinics where the foundation does some of its work.
In the clinics, Talia got to talk with health workers about the drugs used to treat mothers and children. She also learned about the educational tools that are being used to teach the people of Swaziland about how AIDS is transmitted.
I had done a fair amount of work in advocacy and a lot of work in HIV research. And so I had really been thinking about the disease very much from sort of that research and a vaccine perspective. And we're really pretty far away from being in a place where we're going to have a vaccine that will work. But we have treatments that work now. One of the things the foundation is very focused on is the prevention of mother-to-child transmission. And basically what this means is when you have a pregnant mother who is HIV positive, her chances of giving the disease, of passing the disease to her child, are 1 in 3, unless she's on therapy. And then the chances go down to 1 in 50. That's a huge difference.
Talia not only visited clinics, she also met with local leaders, priests, and chieftains. And she went to Swazi schools, too.
We went to some schools, and often the children would perform for us. They would sing, why are you so skinny? You need to get yourself tested for HIV. Or, children, were being orphaned by our parents who are not behaving responsibly. Things that are heart-wrenching to hear from a child.
The tough reality of life in Swaziland. But before their trip ended, Talia and the other volunteers got together to build a swing, seesaw, and other playground equipment as a lasting memory of their visit there.
We built a playground basically for these children and a shelter for their mothers so that they'd be able to wait outside of the sun and the rain and watch their children play, which was very nice.
Since returning from Africa, Talia continues to raise awareness about AIDS and HIV research. She believes she'll be a lifelong advocate for AIDS patients, especially for the youngest victims.
I think it's wonderful for the people there to see there are people far away who care, people with more resources, more education, better health, that those people are still caring about them. There are people who are continuing to think about them and hope that they are doing well. It was wonderful to meet the people there.